What a great turnout. I'm so excited to see all of you here. So the fact that we're having these division-wide meetings means if you're coming, you like them. That's a good thing. Let's hope that we can make it worth your while, and I will do my best to do that as well. First off, I want to say thank you to all of those who helped make the event last night possible. So Hope Garcia and everyone else that's around and worked. It was a university-wide effort to make it come off the way it did. I think what's so important about that event is that our students experience something that they will never be able to experience again probably in their lifetime, and that's a really powerful kind of thing, to see students being able to ask the former president questions, to be able to sit and have dinner with him, rub elbows with him, and then actually listen to a lecture. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. So I'm very grateful for their work, but it's just but one example of the work that all of you do each and every day, and I'm very pleased about that. I want to take the opportunity to talk to you all and provide some updates about what's happening. I'm trying to do that without messing with the computer here. A few things that are happening across campus, and then obviously we'll have time for questions and stuff at the end, or I don't care if we're taking them now, but that's going to be up to Mo. I don't want to mess up their schedule. But there are a few updates that I want to provide to all of you. Some of them you may know about, some of them you may have seen, but I at least wanted to kind of give you the Division of Student Affairs perspective on some of them. First, I think all of you know that Dr. Rollins was named the sole finalist for the presidency, and that happened officially last Friday at the Board of Regents meeting when the Board of Regents voted for that to happen. And I think that's a really great thing for the university. It's certainly a great thing for the division. When he talks about what's important about our university, one of the first things that comes out of his mouth is students and how we connect and engage them to the university. And I don't think we could have a stronger proponent for what we do. The fact that he's going to be here for 2 years means that the types of initiatives that we have put forward or that we've talked about in our strategic plan will continue to go forward, hopefully without any delays. Budget might have something to do with that, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But he is supportive of what we do. He's very accessible. If you've had the opportunity to interact with him, you know that. If you haven't, I hope that you do. And we'll try to provide as many opportunities to make that happen as we possibly can. He's very excited to be on our campus, and I think very humbled that he was wanted and that people wanted him to stick around longer. So it was very nice that that happened. And if you're able to participate and see him in that arena, it's really a great thing. He did a great job last night with the president as well. It's pretty interesting to walk into a room where there were 3 presidents, and I had to say that, President Bush, President Rollins, and then our lovely, wonderful SGA President Sanders, all sitting around a table, rubbing elbows, talking about economics and what's happened with the world and why we had to do the buyout and everything else. It was very interesting. And if you don't know that Lane Rollins is an economist, so it was a very interesting conversation. He obviously knows what he's talking about when he has that conversation, so it was really a fun thing to do. In talking about leadership, I want to segue into talking about what's up on the screen and talking about the announcement that was made last Friday that you should have seen on in-house and obviously that you would have received over email. I want to give you a little bit of perspective about what's happening with that and why it happened, and then obviously be available for some questions at whatever time Mo allows me to do that. When I first started in this position in January, even interimly in this position in January, it was a conversation that I had with not only Gretchen Bataille, but also Phil Diebel, and then again with Lane Rollins when he came on board, that is this really the way the division should be set? And each agreed with me that because I was interim, it did not make sense to make any changes or to initiate any type of changes. Once I was named permanent vice president in August, had a meeting with Lane, and he encouraged me. So if there are things that you need to do, you need to move forward, you need to look at them. And so at that point, I felt like there were some challenges that we've had. Some of them I've had conversations with even folks on the executive team already, or the leadership team already, that I felt were challenges for the division just inherently based upon our structure. The 2 areas that were the most impacted are the ones that are now, that are under Maureen McGinnis and under Mona Hicks. So what I asked them to do, I pulled them into a meeting and said, I want you guys to take a look at your 2 areas, and if things could shift and move around, what would you do? And looking at it, I felt like the areas that have reported to Mo and were under Mo dealt with responsibility, accountability, citizenship. And those that are reporting through Mona dealt with connecting students, the engagement piece, making sure that our students were here and here to stay and actively involved on our campus. And so with that, they went off a couple weeks, talked about it amongst themselves, and came back with a proposal. And basically the changes that you see on the organizational charts are based upon the suggestions that they made to me after they met. One of the things I think that Mona was most gracious about saying in all of this was that she felt strongly that the Dean of Students title needed to be tied to judicial affairs. If you've been on this campus for a while and remember when Judicial Affairs was part of the Dean of Students office, there are so many calls that come through that office asking about those types of questions. It was confusing for our students, and it was confusing, honestly, for our campus community. And so that was the first big switch that occurred. The second one was looking at what else needed to change, and the suggestion came through that it made sense for Greek Life, as well as the Substance Abuse Resource Center, to move under that Dean of Students model. Because they are all about accountability, citizenship, how we contribute to our community. And those are important pieces. It's a very traditional model of the Dean of Students office, but I think it's one that will work well for us. And I think it's certainly one that, based upon the feedback that I've heard over the years, is one that can be successful and will be successful. My hope in making these changes is that they will really impact, and that was the conversation that I had with both Mona and with Mo in looking at these changes. Mona suggested that her area become Campus Life. I think it's a great idea, a great way to look at what's happening with the engagement pieces and the connections for our students. So I think having Campus Life as part of her area is great. What I want to emphasize to you all, no one has been demoted in this process. If anything, I think that the Assistant Vice President title is seen as higher than the Dean of Students titles. That doesn't mean that Mo got demoted as well. In my opinion, they are in the same spots that they were. The titles are ones that they feel like will work for them in their areas. And I am very confident in their abilities and very proud of all the work that they have done and that they will continue to do. So I want to make sure that that message is clear to all of you. This change has nothing to do with wanting to change people. It's all about making sure that the organizational alignment fits our university and serves our students well. That's solely the reason for the changes. So if there's questions about that later, I'll be happy to respond to them, but I want to make sure that you guys hear that from me. The transition will begin now. Conversations are being had now about those types of changes. It will be effective January 1, but we want to make sure that all the background and work is done so that they do become effective January. When we come back from the holidays, we'll be set to go, raring to go. And there's lots of things that have to be changed, deciding on phone numbers, all those kinds of pieces, and we're working through those changes with their folks. A couple of other changes on the organizational structure you will notice. One, no offense, Jan Hillman, but Jason Simon's name is on the organizational structure. I'll talk about it a little bit, but Jan Hillman is retiring at the end of the semester. If she hasn't told you about all of her travel plans yet, she would probably love to. But Jason will be moving into that role, and so he'll be directly reporting to me. Stella will remain reporting to Jason as well. Both will kind of be bumped up in what they're doing, but we're responsible for all the planning and assessment and research that happen within the division. Both of those folks are great and wonderful, and I think they will do a great job in carrying on the legacy that Jan has created with our research and planning. Next, you'll notice another change is that Hope Garcia's title has changed and will be Director of Student Affairs Administration. The work that she's doing is very integral division-wide to what we do. What started off as a special projects position working with me as Associate Vice President has truly grown. And when you think about the event last night, it was her responsibility to make sure that every I was dotted and every T was crossed. Huge responsibility. In addition, when we looked at the strategic plan, one of the things that was recurring, or actually a couple of things that were recurring throughout that strategic plan, were marketing of the division and how are we working on maintaining our web presence. And so those are two areas that we'll begin to work with Hope. We had an open position that we reclassified, it was posted, and then her old position of special projects is posted as well. Those are the two folks that will report through her. Don't ask me where they're going to live or they're going to be housed because I have no idea yet. Let's hope they're not out on the street somewhere. But we're working on that part of it. What Hope does for me when I get phone calls from the president's office for somebody else that I need something done today and I need help with it, it's lovely Hope that gets to drop everything she's doing and make that happen. And so very much an integral position and part of what we do. I'm not skipping over the last one, but I'm just making sure that I haven't forgotten one as I'm looking at my organizational chart. Last but not least, I think most of you know that Tom Rufer has been wonderful support to me in my role and done wonderful things for the division. assuming all of Chuck's responsibilities is hugely an undertaking. He is acting as, when I'm not here, he acts in my stead, and I think that's an important reason to upgrade his position. He will be Associate Vice President for Student Affairs, or for Auxiliary Services. Student Affairs, it would want to be. He's trying to be, his own man. And so that will be effective in January. And if I'm not here, or Tom's not here, depending on what the circumstance will be, it will be Mo or Mona that would represent the division. And we could go down in any of these, anybody could, but just so you know the order and what we're having with it. In addition to this, there are many reclasses that were submitted through the division. All of those have been forwarded to Human Resources, just so you are aware. It will be likely several weeks, Brooke is nodding her head, likely several weeks before we hear anything back. The original plan that we heard that was discussed with us, so any reclasses would become effective in January. So our hope is to hear something before the holidays, I would think. Otherwise, I guess it would be retroactive to January if it takes longer. So hopefully that will not take longer. Let me move in and talk about a couple of other things. Budget issues. I wish that I could say that things look better than they do, but I can't. If you'll recall, the state's already asked for the university to give back 5% of this fiscal year's money. And when I say this fiscal year's money, I'm not talking auxiliary funds and I'm not talking student service fee funds. So for the most of us sitting in this room, that change does not directly impact us. It does, as a campus community, impact us. And so it's coming from what they call education and general funds that we have to find the money. So we've already sent 5% back. Unfortunately, Monday, we received word from the state, and from the state, we mean from the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker of the House, that they're requesting 2 to 3% more back this fiscal year.